So let me talk about two of these local announcements. One of them for Fort Frances, and there's actually two components, but the grand total amount is $365,000, which is kind of an interesting figure. What did they decide, like $1,000 for each day of the year or something? Now, $350,000 of that is going to finance a microgrid feasibility study. And I've kind of been involved somewhat with this over the last number of years, and I know I talked to June Call about this, your predecessor, Andrew, as the, and I'm sure you all know, as the previous mayor, and the people from the Fort Frances Power Corporation. And the Fort Frances Power Corporation is kind of interesting because it's a nonprofit, and apparently it provides the cheapest electricity available anywhere in Ontario, which is a pretty big deal. Now, certainly with the closure of the mill, that was a real blow to Fort Frances, and obviously and rightly you've been looking for other businesses to come in into Fort Frances and employ some of those people who lost their job. And certainly the ability to provide cheap power is something that will attract other industries to this town. And now the whole idea of the microgrid is you're attached to the Ontario grid, right? So apparently, I haven't been here for one, but apparently the power goes down from time to time when that grid is broken and you no longer have electricity in Fort Frances. So the microgrid allows the town of Fort Frances to get their own sources of electricity, whether it's from where the mill site was or whether it's from a solar power farm. And so if you're cut off from the grid, you have your own local sources of electricity. And that too is attractive to industries where having downtime and not having electricity is a big deal. So to be able to do a feasibility study, I think gets you one step further down the road to having that microgrid. So that's a great announcement. There's also another $15,000 to develop a strategic plan and to identify specific development initiatives. So these are both really good announcements, and I thank FedNor for those announcements. I think they're good for you guys here in Fort Frances. The other one I wanted to talk about briefly before handing over to Patty is Rainy River. So Rainy River has had an economic development officer for the past number of years. He had the misfortune of starting his job, like I think a month before COVID hit. And I think he was trying to get his family over at the same time, but there was all these travel restrictions and things. But I know, and his name is Chinadasa, and I know, having spoken to a number of people in Rainy River, that they really like him out there. He's done a lot of work in attracting local businesses to the area. He's also was involved, I think, in looking at improving immigration to the area. So, and I was asked, this was a few years ago, can you help us get funding for him so he continues to be here for a number of years, because we think he's done a great job. So this announcement is that the FedNor will provide $216,000 to help finance his stay and to pay his salary for the next 3 years. So that too is a great announcement. So both of these I think are really good announcements for the town of Fort Frances and for Rainy River, and that they'll help to stimulate business locally. And that's certainly what FedNor is trying to do. So with that, I will hand it over to